So at the beginning of the chapter, we looked at if you're given an expression, this one has only two terms, for example, 5x squared and positive 20x are the two terms. How would you factor this? What would you find? Finding the greatest common factor. So the first method of factoring you learned was to see if there is a greatest common factor. And by looking at this, can you tell me what the greatest common factor is? 5x. Good. How would I factor this? Divide everything by 5x. And we know that if it can be divided by 5x, 5x times something will give us the answer. What is 5 divided by 5? 1. X to the power of 2. X to the power of 2 divided by x to the power of 1 equals x. And then we have positive divided by positive is a positive. What is 20 divided by 5? X divided by x reduces to 1. We don't need to put that there. So this is the first form of factoring, finding the greatest common factor. So if you have something that looks like this, does anyone remember what this is called? I'll give you a clue. It starts with a D. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. Sorry, like that. Yes? Well, what operation is this? Difference of, good.
Squares.
Good, okay, so difference of squares was the second form of factoring you learned. How do you factor a difference of squares? One has to be positive, one has to be negative, good. Then we find the square root of the first term. What's the square root of x squared? And the square root of the last term. What's the square root of 9? Okay, so we learned two forms of factoring. One is finding the greatest common factor, and that can be done if there are two. Go put your jacket in your locker and your hat. Okay. Okay? Take your hat off, please, and your jacket right away. You're disrupting my lesson now, okay? Pardon? Oh. Today we're going to be looking at expressions that have three terms. You can only use this factoring if they have three terms. If they have two terms, you can't use this form of factoring. What is an expression called that has three terms? Trinomial.
I told my mom this and she said.
Trinomials, what does that mean again? That it has how many terms? 1, 2, 3 terms, but this is what's important here. They have to be in the form x squared. Do I have an x squared as the first term? Okay. You cannot have a number other than 1, so put a 1 here. It has to be 1x squared in order to do this type of factoring. Okay, so they're in the form 1x squared, or just x squared. Now it can be plus or minus. Bx, b represents the middle term. Okay, what is b in my example? What does b represent? Negative 10. It's the number that's in front of x. And then we have plus c. C represents a number, so it could be plus or minus. What is my c value in this example? 16. Now it's really important that you label b and c, because you need to know the difference when we're factoring this. When we factor, we're trying to express it as a product. So we know that we're looking for, two things that multiply together that are going to give us back the answer. It's not a difference of squares, right? Because it's not only two terms, it's three terms. Is there a greatest common factor? So because there's no greatest common factor, we're going to learn a new way of factoring this. So what we're doing is, I want you to draw this chart here. This is one way we can do this. We're looking for two numbers, pay attention, that multiply together to give us C. Okay? So we're trying to figure out what are the factors of C. So what is C? What number is C? Positive 16. You have to include the sign, okay? We're trying to find two numbers that when you multiply them together, so something times something will give us positive 16. Now, you can't just choose any two numbers. It has to be two numbers that multiply together to give you C, but when you add them together, they give you the middle term B. Okay? Would 16 times 1 work? Let's list factors of 16. 16 times 1 is 16, right? But when I add positive 16 and positive 1, what do I get? What's 16 plus 1? 17. Is that the middle term? No. So that doesn't work. Write down all the factors of 16. What times what gives us 16? What are other factors of 16? Two numbers multiplied together to give us 16. Positive 2 and positive 8 gives us 16. Okay? What is positive 2 plus positive 8? What's 2 plus 8? Positive 10. Does that work? No. The middle term has to be negative 10. We know that a positive times a positive is a positive, but if we take a negative 2 times negative 8, do I still get positive 16? Yes. 2 times 8 is 16, and a negative is a positive, right? What is negative 2 plus negative 8? Negative 10. Does that work? Yes. So the two factors, two numbers that multiply together to give us positive 16 are, I'm going to write the numbers here, negative 2 and negative 8. Right? We're trying to work backwards. What do you think the first terms are going to be? Look at your first term in the question, x squared. What times what gives you x squared? X times x. That's the answer. That's it. This is factored form. This is factored form. X minus 2 multiplied by x minus 8 equals x squared minus 10x plus 16. And we're going to check that answer. Okay, we're going to check to see if this is true. Let's work backwards. Let's multiply. What's x times x? What is x times negative 8? Lee. Negative 8x. What is negative 2 times x? Negative 2x. What is negative 2 times negative 8? Positive 16. Let's simplify. What is negative 8x minus 2x? Negative 10x plus 16. Was that the original question that I gave you that I asked you to factor? X squared minus 10x plus 16. We found two numbers that multiply together to give you positive 16. And when you add the two factors together, including the negatives, we get negative 10. See that?